On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, it's the March 23rd update on motor vessel Forward. She's still stuck in Chesapeake Bay. I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to this episode of What's Going On with Shipping. If you're new to the channel and we got some new subscribers who are coming on board, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos when they come out. So had an opportunity to go on Bloomberg's Odd Lot podcast, which was funny for a variety of different reasons. So the two hosts of that show, Joe and Tracy, have been doing a lot with supply chain, but Tracy in particularly, Tracy Allway, has been basically doing things like trying to ship a teddy bear from China, ship a barrel of oil. Well, in this case, the truth has caught up with her because literally she just moved from Hong Kong to New York and working for Bloomberg. And her goods, her entire apartment was packed up into a shipping container, loaded on a vessel, and sent over to the United States to offload to New York. And can anyone in the crowd take a wild guess what vessel it's on? Yep, it's on Forward. So poor Tracy's stuff is, I'm sorry, Tracy, I shouldn't laugh, but poor Tracy's stuff is stuck on Forward. And so we talked about that on the podcast. I'll have a link over in the show notes and right here for you to take a look at. So if you want to listen to our podcast, I will note I did make one mistake in the podcast and I apologize. I am terrible with math for a variety of reasons. But when we were talking about the capacity of dredgers, I accidentally said cubic yards when I was talking about the dredger over in the Suez versus cubic feet. It's still bigger. It's substantially bigger than the dredges that are being used in the Chesapeake right now. But some people took offense to that. And let me be clear. One of the things I love about Twitter and I love about social media in many ways is if you take a moment and talk to someone, what seems like a confrontational view changes immensely. And I had one of those and it was great. Great contact I made with somebody. And I think that's a really important lesson in trying to discuss and talk about things. So the difference between the dredges used on Ever Given versus Forward is substantial. Forward is using these big clamshell dredges that are scooping up the dirt, which I'll show you in a second. Ever Given was using a cutter suction dredge, basically a dredge that goes in, breaks up rock and material and sucks it up. Different style of dredge for different bottoms. There are different bottoms of the water that you need. And so you'll have different dredges to do it. So different capabilities exist. And when we talked about the fact that there wasn't a larger dredge available for Forward, we're talking about in the area. There are larger dredges in the United States. Matter of fact, we're undergoing a huge dredge renaissance in this country. We're building dredges. There are new dredges coming out. One of the big things, but is funding for dredging, funding for projects. And that's a big issue that needs to be addressed. I am aiming to get a dredge expert on here. Yes, I have access to dredge experts. That's the uniqueness of my channel. I literally put out a call and I got them. So hoping to film that fairly shortly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the videos for today on Forward. First video today comes from the Maritime Safety Innovation Lab. They have been fantastic in providing information and images on the vessel, the Forward. They go out on a fairly regular basis and take photos. So if you want, right here under media, get on photos and you can find the list for the different dates they did it. And right now for March 21, they've got several videos and the cover photo I did came from them. I want to show you this one video here real quick and let this go ahead and play for you. It's a short little video, but I'm going to let it play. This is the dredge Dale Pyatt. And a Dale Pyatt is a hopper dredge. And you'll see it in operation there. The hopper is right here at the bottom of the crane. It's going down, scooping up the material from the bottom and then dumping it. You can't see it right here, but behind it, there's a barge that they're doing. So you'll see it kind of scooping up, breaking the surface. It carries about 60 cubic yards of material. Dump it into the barge and deposit it. So this is the way they're doing it. And notice right here too, real quick, at the very beginning, you'll see she's off the stern of the vessel. It appears that they're focusing the dredging right now along the stern of the vessel. So this is the photo. Mike Reisner sent this to me. Mike, I appreciate it. I was going to show the photo with you, Mike, but I figured it's better we don't show the photo. It was a fine photo. It was just a great cheese photo of Mike. But one of the things that Mike caught here, which I think is really interesting, is the fact that both dredges now have appeared to move off the stern of the vessel. Prior to this, the Oyster Bay was working off the starboard bow of the vessel. They now both seem to be working off the stern. I think one of the things they're trying to do, and again, we haven't had a briefing. Again, we're not getting any information from the NTSB, the Coast Guard, from anyone. They're answering the Coast Guard will answer some questions, but not a lot, which I think is an issue. But anyway, one of the things I think they're going to do is try to pivot this vessel. So if you look at this vessel, it's sitting pointing at 5 o'clock. And it needs to go 6 o'clock into the channel, which is closer to the camera than the vessel is right here. You're looking at the vessel's right side, starboard side. That vessel needs to come closer to the image. You're facing east. It needs to come closer west. So what I think they're going to try to do is pivot the stern a little bit. And one of the reasons they were dredging up there along the starboard bow was to give room for the bow to swing, and then using the ship's engine back her out. I'm still thinking that this is going to take a week or two to get enough of a spoil out of there to ensure the vessel doesn't come off of a ledge and roll. That's what I'm thinking anyway, at least a week or two. Again, it may be mid-April before we see her move. But again, we do see the dredging underway at this point. Mike, thanks again for sharing the photo. I appreciate it. And if you do have photos or any information, please send them to me, mercoglianosal@gmail.com. Happy to get them, or on Twitter at mercoglianos, or leave a note in the show in the show notes in the comments section, and I'll be sure to get in touch with you. I want to share a video from Chesapeake Bay Magazine. They went out to the site and did a video, and also got some information from the Coast Guard. So I'm going to play this, and I'm going to intercut myself in here on several issues.
So there's the basket, dumping some more out.
We watched as scoop after scoop was brought up from the bay. The dredging has started to try to refloat Ever Forward, the container ship that got stuck just outside of the Patapsco River more than a week ago.
The bottom's a mix of sand and mud, and they can only take so many scoops and fill up so many barges so fast. So they're gonna, I'm sure, work around the clock.
We were on the water as another barge was brought in. Captain Matt Benhoff, the vice president of our sister company, the Annapolis School of Seamanship, brought us out to check on the work at the grounded ship.
They've got 3 tugs that are pushing the barge that has the dredge on it, and the barge that they're dumping the spoils into.
The Coast Guard is leading the investigation.
The salvage contractors are bringing in the equipment, and right now it looks like there'll be a clamshell dredge, which is kind of a big bucket that scoops out.
Bay Bulletin has learned the dredge material will go to Poplar Island, an environmental restoration project in the bay. People have questioned why not just lighten the load by taking off some of the close to 5,000 containers the ship is carrying. But Coast Guard Commander Christopher Rosen says it's too dangerous. Why don't you take the weight off the top?
Those ships are designed to go to a pier that has those, giant cranes. So without the ability to bring in those giant cranes, it's basically we have to look at other options, and those options will never be as safe.
Commander Rosen says there's no apparent pollution and the fuel tanks are not an immediate concern.
The ships are designed so that the fuel tanks are not up against the hull, so they are more central to the ship. So there's absolutely no portion of the hull that's touching the bottom of the Chesapeake Bay that is even very close at all to any of those flammable liquids or fuel and that sort of stuff.
He says
So I want to talk about 2 things here real quick. So first, the container crane issue. They may be forced to take weight off this vessel after the dredging is done, and depending on how the movement of the vessel goes, the only other option is take weight off the vessel. And that was the issue with Ever Given. If they could not free Ever Given on the tide they had, they were going to have to start taking weight off of her. And understand, the issue here is the ability to get at these containers with a large enough crane. He says a safety issue. Yeah, it's a safety issue, but you can do it safely. The question is really, it's a time-consuming operation. And more importantly, you need a massive crane, because you don't just need to take the side containers off. You need to be able to reach over into the interior of the vessels. Again, these are 8.5 high-foot containers, 8 feet wide, 40 feet long in most cases. There's some 20-footers on here. This is a long, laborious operation. These boxes are heavy. A fully loaded container can be up to 60,000 pounds. On the fuel issue, I have a difference of opinion with the U.S. Coast Guard on this. Yes, the fuel tanks on modern vessels are not along the skin of the vessel. We learned that from Exxon Valdez and a whole variety of other issues. There are basically what's called cofferdams, double bottoms along the bottom. Most fuel tanks, especially on a container vessel, are inside the interior and actually pretty tall. And that's another issue, is it creates a very high center of gravity for the vessel, so that you may want to pump off some of this fuel. However, even though there's sounding tanks every 4 hours, as you dredge this vessel, and this vessel is sitting on the bottom, the hull of this vessel has limited tolerances to take stress. Right now, you have over 120,000 tons of vessel sitting on the bottom, crushing it. Even though it's soft mud, after a while, that soft mud is going to dry out, and you're going to be impacting it and pushing it down and packing. As you're packing down on the mud, it's pushing back up at you. And more importantly, when the vessel begins to move, should there be a storm, tide, or something like that, begin to move that vessel, you may start seeing cracks. The time you need the boom isn't when the vessel starts leaking. It's before then. Even though they got it pre-positioned, loaded, ready to go, come out, they should have anchors out for the boom. They can boom off the port side and the bow of the vessel and be able to swing those booms around and shut them off. Again, you don't want to spill in Chesapeake Bay. You have to be proactive. I understand this will slow things up, but the three priorities in a salvage operation is life. First of all, we know everyone's fine. Second is environment. Third is the vessel. And that seems to be an issue with the Coast Guard right now. I'm not exactly sure why they're not doing this. Again, they're minimizing it, which sounds great until it happens. And then by the time you react, you find out, in between 4-hour soundings of tanks that you're leaking fuel. Then you're sending the barge out with the boom. You got to rig the boom. That's a lot of time for fuel to be spilling. But again, that's me.
Live survey shows the hull's integrity is good.
Having boom out there could inhibit some of the salvage operations. So we have it in standby. So if there was ever any evidence that there was pollution, then it would be deployed right away to minimize any impact.
Ever Forward is not blocking the navigational channel. A Port of Baltimore spokesman says business and commerce-related activities continue as normal.
The facts are that the ship didn't complete its turn, and that's why it ended up out of the channel. As far as that goes, like I said, the investigation is continuing.
Operator error and mechanical issues are being considered. Commander Rosen says don't expect this to be a quick operation to get it moving to its next scheduled port in Norfolk.
Swing it over the barge.
We do expect it to take several days, in possibly a couple of weeks.
It's just a matter of
Okay, several days or a couple of weeks. So it's kind of a wide range right there. I'm thinking a couple of weeks to get the dredge out there and to move it. I do have an issue with again this issue with the NTSB and the Coast Guard and basically what they are doing here with this. Again, when you have airline crashes, there's news media, there's press conferences. We're getting information as the black box is found. You start getting snippets of the data. They're not doing any of this, and this is a huge problem, I think, in the maritime industry. What caused this accident? It's not going to take rocket scientists to figure this out. Let me be clear. You have the VDR, the vessel data recorder, which records the conversation on the bridge. You got the pilot, you've got the master, you got the helmsman, you got the mate on watch. What are they saying? What are they saying? Now, understand, none of those guys want to talk, or women want to talk, because the liability issues here are tremendous. The ship is going to point their finger at the pilot. The pilot's going to point the finger at the ship. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing right here, but the Coast Guard and NTSB should be talking about this. If it's not mechanical, if it's not, okay, I turned the wheel and the rudder didn't turn, that's mechanical, that's the ship, that's fine. If this is a speed issue, if it's a factor that this ship was going too fast into this turn and they need to slow it down, that needs to be put in place now and announced. They've already slowed down there, but because of Ever Forward, because they've slowed down there because they don't want to push a lot of water into the area that they're dredging. So that video I found very interesting, but I found another video that's even more interesting. And again, thanks to social media, we're getting videos just like this. That's right. At FV Southern Girl posted a TikTok on the Ever Forward that's stuck in Chesapeake Bay, and it's too good not to go ahead and play at least a part of it for everyone to enjoy. I shouldn't laugh at these things, but this did make me laugh.
So this boat, the Everforward, is actually bigger than the boat that was just recently stuck in the Suez Canal.
Okay, that's wrong. I mean, it's just wrong, by the way. The Ever Given, which was in the Suez Canal, was 1,400 feet long. The Ever Forward is almost 1,100 feet long. So no, you're wrong. And to be clear, that's the point that this video hooked me right there. It's like, okay, how many things can I find wrong in this video? Let's go. That was one.
1,095 foot long. SS Everforward usually.
Okay, it's not an SS steamship. It's not a steamship. It's a motor vessel. It's got diesel engines. So number two.
SS stands for sailing ship in this case. I think it's
SS stands for steamship, not sailing ship. And again, why would you call it a sailing ship? Do you see sails on this? Seriously, dude. Now, by the way, can I be clear? Absolute fantastic footwork for him to stand there. I was waiting for him to go over the side the whole time, but great work on his part.
I think it's safe to say it stands for super stuck. This is the container.
Super stuck. All right, thumbs up for that one.
Container ship that's been stuck outside of Baltimore Harbor for about a week now, outside the shipping channel. This boat has a 12,000 container capacity, and it's full. So there's 12,000 sea containers on this boat, stuck.
Okay, there's not 12,000 sea containers on this boat. Let me be clear. She's rated for 12,000 TEU, 20-foot equivalent units, but she carries largely FEUs, 40-foot equivalent units. Those ones you see behind him, they're the blue ones and the red ones there. Those are 40-foot. So she probably has anywhere between 5,000 to 8,000 boxes on board based on 40-foot equivalent units.
Here in the Chesapeake Bay. The boat draws about 42 foot of water, and it's currently sitting in about 25 foot of water. The only way I think they're going to get it undone is they're saying to pull containers off to lighten the load so that it doesn't draw as much water. I think we could.
Okay, so obviously he hasn't talked to the commander in the Coast Guard because that's not what they want to do.
I count on this boat being here for a really long time. It might be here all summer. I really have.
I don't know. I'm hoping it's not going to be there whole summer. Although I'd love for you to watch the channel and have daily updates through the summer. I'm a little bit more optimistic that they'll be able to get it out sooner than that.
No idea how they're going to get it unstuck. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. In the way of any other ships, so other boats can pass, but it's still, I mean, there's 12,000 sea containers full of things that are not going anywhere anytime soon, that's for sure. Imagine how many Wish.com orders are now going to be 2 months late. So they have the anchor set, which seems a bit unnecessary at this point, but hey, that's a bit above my pay grade.
Kevin here, great acknowledgement there that this is above his pay grade, but the reason they anchor is because the Coast Guard requires them to do that. Plus, you can go from your at-sea watches to anchor watches, so it's a different way of manning the vessel. But also because, in truth, you don't want anything to happen that lifts the boat up, you know, a storm come through, pick the boat up, and actually put it in a worse position than it is right now.
The only hope to get this boat off in reality is either a couple rednecks from Pasadena with rusty Dodge Cummins and tow straps, or for this boat step bro to come home and find it stuck. I have no idea. They're definitely going to have to get creative because this is a no small problem here. I don't think you're supposed to park there, bud.
Okay, can I be clear how much I really love this guy and his video, because the idea is like, okay, I don't think you're supposed to park there, but the idea too of using tow straps and rusty Cummings is hysterical. He says that a couple of times in the video too, and I think he's from Pasadena, Maryland, based on the amount of times he says that town. But I just found the video very, very amusing. I love when shipping news gets people interested in it, and this is a great way to do it. It's one of the reasons I started this channel, is to get this out into the mainstream and to provide context and places where you can go to find some views on it. Obviously, I may need to expand what's going on with shipping to TikTok. I did one once. Maybe I need to do more, but that was a great view, and I love that guy. I'm sorry, I just really do. Even though he gets a batch of things wrong, it's the attitude that's all that counts. I'm not sure if some toe straps and some rusty Cummings and a couple of guys from Pasadena, Maryland are going to be able to do it. We may need a little bit more than that. I'm also interested on a more serious note, what kind of salvage tugs are en route here? Because besides the dredging, they're going to need some big tugs. I mean, big tugs. And understand, we'll talk more about as we get closer to that, to the update, but you're not going to do it with harbor tugs out of Baltimore. You're going to need some big, powerful tugs, salvage tugs that can put out anchors, pull on those anchors, pull on the ship, and use their engines. Hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos when they come out. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, share it across social media. And if you can, become a Patreon. That helps support the channel, allows us access to news articles that are behind paywalls, buy equipment to keep up the what's going on with shipping studio. And more importantly of all, as we all know, I have to feed my staff. And my staff is a voracious group of people who eat a lot. Macy back there is sleeping as usual, and Peanut's down here right now there. And I appreciate everyone and their fine comments to Peanut. I can't feed them anymore. They're already, I think they're already unionizing behind my back. So until the next video, this is Sal signing off.